Welcome to Golf Cask Original Series, The Blend. Perfect for golf and whiskey enthusiasts alike. Hello, Golf Cask Nation. This is Brian Bailie here bringing you episode 11 of The Blend, Navigating Water on the Course and in the Glass. This is not where I was planning on going in this podcast, but after discussion with some Golf Cask members, they loved the elevated pairing where we talked about being able to proof down with water drops and the math, but wanted to learn more about what water does to actually adding it in the system, whether it be ice, drop of water, and things along that line. So we're going to go into a little bit more of the science of that. Also, we're going to start talking, since we're talking about water, we're going to talk about how to navigate on the golf course and how to avoid hazards. Hazards would be bunkers, lateral hazards, and just hazards in general. So we'll go in and define that for the newbies, and we'll also give you some great kind of understanding or a knowledge base on the sheer fact that how you need to avoid and what it costs you on certain holes, especially on par threes, how important it is not to hit it in the water. So we're going to talk about that on the golf side. So let's do a quick recap of the last week, and then we'll dive into our podcast. So we did our filming at the Whiskey Jar for our 100 challenge. Worked out really great. Chris Bono and the staff at Whiskey Jar was spectacular. Eddie K came and joined us. Thank you, Eddie, for that. You can go to our podcast channel. You can watch it inside of YouTube or Spotify on video or inside of Golf Cask. And as well as you can hear it on iHeart, Audible, Apple, so forth and so on. So that is out right now. Really had a lot of fun with that. It's definitely going to be a new segment that we're going to kind of put in our rotation. For me, it's just a lot of fun to learn more about the whiskey, learn more about cocktails, learn more about, all of those components, but more so having the ability to sit down with a friend and with a knowledgeable bartender and just have a good time. And hopefully you guys have fun listening. Also, we're getting ready to film a new series. I'm going out this week and we're doing something what we're going to call the Three-Hole Throwdown. So I'm going to challenge teaching pros at different golf courses, and we're going to play 3 holes. We're going to play the hardest hole on the front, hardest hole on the back, and the signature hole. And then what we're going to do is we're going to kind of compare scores, and the winner we'll go through about all that. But that is actually going to be filmed this week, and our first episode might be in 2 weeks out to the public. A lot of fun there. I'm excited. I love playing golf. Again, I'm playing against a bunch of really good teaching pros, so they're going to end up probably waxing me. I'm a single-digit handicapper. I'm probably about a 6, give or take. Don't play very much, but again, I can go out and play and not embarrass myself. So we're going to go out and challenge some of these guys and learn more about them, learn more about the golf courses that we're playing and kind of their coaching styles and what they like. And it'll be a fun conversation. So the 3-hole throwdown will be filmed this week for the first time. And then, like I said, this will become part of our series as well. Also, Irons and Oak, December 6, 7, and 8. Details are almost ready. I'm just waiting to hear back from 2 places. But as soon as I get confirmation on that, we will get pricing out and whatnot. But again, on your calendars, make sure you hold December 6, 7, and 8. We're probably going to have another LPGA special guest there. For those that were there last year, same player. So we're going to have a multiple winner LPGA player out joining us for some of that. So make sure that you keep your ears on for that. Any new pours this week? At the 100 Challenge, we did the Old Forester 1924 Prohibition style. It was very yummy. My flavor profile, sweet, bunch of layers, 10 years old, spicy, good finish, just a really, really good bourbon. 100 proof, kind of, I kind of like anything from 100 to about 120, kind of anywhere in that zone. So, man, I really enjoyed that one. We did do the Virginia Bourbon Festival. Bo Hammond, who's a friend of mine, Eddie K went out there. It rained. It's sideways for a large portion of it, but we did get to enjoy some good whiskeys out there as well. Bowman's was out there, so we had single barrel. I actually bought a bottle. I got Catoctin, their cast strength, which was actually spectacular. It's a rye. We actually lumbered into a liquor store, and I found Redwood Empire cast strength as well, so I bought that. So I did find some really good whiskeys out there, but it was a fun time. It was a wet time. The Mother Nature definitely did not help us. We got a good hour in before it started raining sideways, and it just kept coming, so we kind of left a little early. But we did find a nice little whiskey bar restaurant on the way home where we stopped and kind of just chatted and had a good time. So it wasn't a wasted weekend. So that's kind of the week in advance, so kind of what's happened. Once again, let's dive in here into navigating water on the course and in the glass, and let's dive in here and talk whiskey. Time to pour some knowledge into our whiskey experience. Pouring knowledge segment of our podcast today, we're talking water, right? So yes, we talked about water and at Elevated Pairing how the formula to proof down. We took Wild Turkey Rare Breed 116 and brought it all the way down to 100. But I got a couple more follow-up questions from some members saying, I want to know more about water. What does it really do? What is the science behind it? Let's get Miles involved. So from the layman's version, this is kind of the way I look at water. So I do have a game set up here. We're going to play a fun drinking game or a watering down game here in a couple minutes called Whiskey Unlocked. So I have Booker's. I have one that is just a normal cask pour. I have one with 4 drops and one with 8 drops. So again, I've basically taken it down from about 120 down to about 108. So I've actually kind of brought the actual alcohol down, and I'm going to see if it's unlocked flavors and actually changed the enjoyability of a whiskey. So we're getting ready to play that here after we go through our little conversation. The way I view water inside of a whiskey, right? First thing it does, it can release aromas and flavors, right? A lot of times you hear in the whiskey world, it opens up the whiskey. So by adding a few drops of water, it can actually restructure some of the compounds in the whiskey because alcohol and water are frenemies. So you can actually get some different flavors and aromas that can come from nosing as well as taste. I've had it where it's made whiskey taste a lot better, and I've had it make whiskey, I think, make it less enjoyable. So I'm a little hit or miss on the water, but I do understand why. And certain whiskeys I do think open up great when you add water. So the first thing is just kind of releasing new flavors and aromas inside the whiskey. Second, we talked about earlier, proofing it down, taking away that ethanol burn. So as we add more water, we take away the balance of alcohol to water that was in the bottle. And by adding more water, by adding ice, as that ice melts, adding water into the system, you will proof down the alcohol, which will reduce the ethanol, which will reduce that proof, that burn, that what I call a warm hug that I enjoy. But some people don't enjoy the warm hug, so your ability to add water to the system can proof that down. And remember, it's drops, right? We're going to use a dropper to add water to the system. We don't dump a lot of water in unless we're making maybe a cocktail or you really just don't enjoy whiskey at all and you're trying to mask everything. Hey, hats off to you. Preference, right? Improves palate sensitivity, right? Especially when we get really, really high proofs. So you're talking cask strengths, getting things up in the 120s, 130s. Even in the, above 100, that can make a lot of people what we call cask numb, where their tongue, their taste buds will actually get numbed out by the high ethanol proof and you'll lose flavors just because the alcohol proof is so hard, your taste buds can't really navigate it and they kind of go numb. So a lot of times to improve your palate sensitivity by adding water and cask strength whiskeys can really open up flavors and again prevent the ethanol from making your taste buds just go numb. Balance the whiskey out. So again, we talk about it being hot, it's being intense. So again, kind of to balance the whiskey just to make it more enjoyable, by adding a few drops of water can just take away that intensity and make it more pleasurable for some alcohol drinkers. Whiskey drinkers. So the final piece is personal preference, right? The beauty of whiskey is you get to drink it the way you want. If you want it in a cocktail loaded up with sugars and fruit juices, okay. If you want to sit there neat at 140 and just, embrace the fight, enjoy that whiskey punching back, love it. If you're somewhere in between, hey, it's your personal preference. That is the beauty of the system. So by adding water into the system, again, we can just make it more pleasurable for some, maybe less pleasurable for others, but again, it's a personal preference, and that's the beauty of whiskey, that's the beauty of life, right? Sitting around the table with 5 people drinking whiskey 5 different ways, but we're all enjoying whiskey and having a great conversation. That's what whiskey is really about. So again, adding water is kind of a neat piece, and there's a lot of science behind it as well, so if you want, I can bring Miles in here to talk science. Hey Miles, can you give us a little information on the science of whiskey and how it really changes our experience of enjoying whiskey?
Great question, Brian. In Gulf Cask Nation, the science behind adding water to whiskey is rooted in chemistry. particularly in how alcohol and aromatic compounds interact with water. Here's a breakdown of the science. 1. Solubility of aromatic compounds. Whiskey contains various aromatic compounds that contribute to its flavor and aroma. These compounds are more soluble in alcohol than in water. When you add water, it changes the solubility of these compounds, causing some of them to become less soluble and rise to the surface. This is why adding water can release more aromas, making the whiskey smell more vibrant. 2. Reduction of alcohol concentration. Whiskey, especially cask-strength varieties, often has a high alcohol by volume (ABV). At high concentrations, alcohol can create a burning sensation on the palate, masking the subtle flavors. Adding water reduces the ABV, making the whiskey less hot and allowing your taste buds to detect more nuanced flavors. 3. Hydrophobic interactions. Alcohol molecules are amphiphilic, meaning they have both hydrophilic, water-attracting, and hydrophobic, water-repelling, properties. When water is added, it disrupts the balance between alcohol and water, causing the hydrophobic, nonpolar, flavor compounds to cluster together and rise to the surface. This can make the whiskey's aroma more pronounced. 4. Micelle formation. As water is added, micelles, tiny clusters of molecules, can form. These micelles can trap and release aromatic compounds, contributing to the complexity of the whiskey's flavor. This process can help certain flavors become more prominent or balanced. 5. Impact on viscosity. Adding water can also change the viscosity, thickness of whiskey. This can affect the mouthfeel, making the whiskey seem smoother or more approachable. 6. pH changes. Water can slightly alter the pH of whiskey, which may influence how certain flavors are perceived. A small change in pH can affect the ionization of acidic and basic compounds, leading to a different taste experience. 7. Dilution of volatile compounds. Whiskey contains volatile compounds that evaporate easily, contributing to its aroma. By adding water, you dilute these compounds, which can make some aromas more noticeable while muting others. This delicate balance is part of the reason why whiskey's character can change so dramatically with just a few drops of water. In summary, adding water to whiskey is a chemical process that can enhance the aroma, flavor, and overall experience by altering the solubility of aromatic compounds, reducing alcohol burn, and changing the whiskey's structure. This scientific interaction between water, alcohol, and flavor compounds is why many experts recommend experimenting with a few drops of water to find the optimal balance. Hope this was helpful, Brian, and enjoy the new game, Whiskey Unlocked.
Let's up our skills with whiskey games. All right, so now we're going to dive in here and play our new game, Unlocking Whiskey. I went ahead and changed the color glasses because I wanted to see the legs. So yes, there's a difference here if you've noticed from the earlier video. My wife came down earlier. These are listed. I don't know which one's which. So there's a foolproof Booker's. There is a 4-drop and 8-drop. So what I basically did the math on is I took Booker's from it's like 128, and I brought it all the way down to about 108. So the biggest drop is about 108, and the other one will be somewhere in between, somewhere in the 1-teens. So again, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at each whiskey and just kind of give it a twirl and actually see what the actual legs look like. Can we see legs there? They are starting to form a little bit, and they are not moving fast. Here's the next one. And we can see the legs are starting to run down the side much quicker. And then the final one here. So again, we're using legs to try to figure out proof, to kind of give us an idea of, is there a difference? And this one is moving slowly, slower than the first, but definitely slower than the first, or no, faster than the first, slower than the second, right? So right off the bat, just by using our proofing techniques, I would say probably full strength, most water, in between water, but we don't know yet. Maybe I'm wrong. I have been wrong before using legs. So let's dive in here first and go by nose. It smells like Booker's. Lots of sugar, caramel, a little bit of vanilla, definitely some oak floating around there. It smells like a really good bourbon. We'll come to our next glass. Nose is much subtler. I'm actually getting the same tones, but I'm actually getting a little bit of fruitiness. kind of jumping around, and it's a little more prevalent, where before I didn't really get the fruit, but the caramel and the vanilla and all was all toned down. Here's our third. And that's kind of nice. I kind of like that one. So I'm still getting the caramel, I'm still getting oak, a little bit of vanilla, but I'm also getting kind of that more of a fruity flavor. I like that. And so again, that's kind of where we stand. Now we're going to do a quick taste and see if we can try to figure out, are we unlocking different versions? We're just going to do itty bitty sips, and then we're going to come back at the end when we know which one's which and see if we can really unlock some stuff here. Nice warm hug. I really like that one. To me, Booker's is really good because it doesn't drink as hot as it is, but this definitely has that cast strength feel to it. And again, as I'm looking at the legs, they are just ungodly slow going down the side. Getting the pepper, getting the sweet, the spicy, getting some pepper. Finish is medium long. Still getting kind of that caramel in the background and some vanilla, which I love. Definitely some spice in the finish. Still dancing on my tongue. Really, really good finish. So now let's dive down here to our next one. So again, this is the fastest of the legs. Again, much more, the sugars and the vanilla and the oak is kind of gone, being replaced by more of a berry flavor. So let's go dive in here and taste this. Definitely different. Finish is much more muted. No real, the burn is way down. The caramel and the vanilla on the taste is much more muted. There's a little bit more berry, but the pepper, I think, comes out a lot more. So I think the pepper, kind of the rye inside of the blend is actually a little more prominent. But there is some berry floating around. So again, definitely a different flavor profile, definitely smoother, definitely a little easier to drink. Now we'll go to our third. This smells wonderful. I'm getting everything from the first one and a little bit of the third one. So this one, again, I think is in the middle. Okay, that was really good. I like a high proof whiskey, but that took away a little of that ethanol burn. Still gives me everything I like about a good high rye bourbon, right? Lots of caramel, lots of sweet, vanilla, oak, pepper. Pepper got toned down a little bit. Finish was much smoother, less complex, but really good. So, really good. I'm gonna take one more sip of that one. I might have to do Booker's with a couple drops of water now. It's as pleasurable as the first, but it just kind of tones it down just a hair. I mean, ever so slightly, makes it a little bit more enjoyable. So I'm just going off of guesses. I'm going cast strength, so 0 water. I'm going maximum water, 8 drops, math. This would be 4 drops to tone it down. So let's see, 0 water added. Our biggest drop, 8 and 4. So yes, I could tell the difference between the 3 whiskeys with the amount of water, which is kind of cool. I've never done this before. But I could definitely see the flavor profile, the flavor tastes changing. It got friendlier as we added more water. Some new flavors came out. But again, I would say the cask and maybe the light amount of water was my favorite. The more watered down version is okay. But again, not my favorite. But again, personal preference, might be yours. So let's go through once more. Now that we know what they are. Man, Booker's this is a really good bottle. I've really enjoyed this bottle. Love that. We'll go next in line. Oh heck, let's do a little water. Next in line. I hate to say it. I find that with a little bit of water, a couple of water drops, much more not more pleasurable, much more flavorful and enjoyable than I do the cast strength. And I enjoy a good cast strength, don't get me wrong. But adding a couple of drops of water really made a difference here. And then our final one, which is our most watered down. Again, getting our proofs around 100. By the nose, this is really cool how much it's changed. To me, that's just a really enjoyable, like that'd be just a really enjoyable proof down whiskey. It's good, it's really good. But again, to me, the cask and the 4 drops was just a little bit better. So again, unlocking flavors, unlocking the secrets to whiskey by adding water, I think is going to be a fun new game. And I look forward to bringing a couple people in the speakeasy and putting them through the same gauntlet and see what they come up with. But again, I think this is a really cool way for you to play around with water. Again, I did small samples. I did the math out with a much smaller pour, and therefore I've gotten a much cooler flavor profile piece. So I really encourage you all to, if you get a chance, play a little fun game, unlock your whiskey by dropping in a little bit of water and see what happens. So I hope this was enjoyable. I hope to show you how water mixture can actually change the flavor and the aromas of your whiskey, as well as Miles really dropped in some great information. So let's dive over into the golf side and look at hazards. What are the main hazards on the golf course? And then a fun game of how to avoid hazards, understanding what it takes to avoid hazards when you're on the golf course as well. So we're gonna dive into that, and thank you all for joining us. Cheers, Salancha, and I look forward to bringing you more content and information about whiskey and golf in the future. Thank you. The skills and concepts to elevate your golf. All right, so here's a free nugget. This is probably, if you want to change your game more than anything and understand lateral hazards, how can I make a better score? The number one rule is on par 3s, you cannot hit in the hazard. Can't, shouldn't, don't, never do it. Why? So if I hit 1 in the hazard, 2 drop on the tee box or even a drop area, so that would be one in the hazard, 2 drop, 3 on the green, best case 4, probably 5, right? So that's the quickest way to make double, and if you make doubles in a round of golf, those are really hard to erase. It takes 2 birdies to get rid of a double. Really, really hard work to remove doubles from the system. So that's where understanding your finger dispersions and being able to look at a green and say, all right, with my with my 9% left and right of the flagstick, if I aim here, that gives me the best potential to stay away from a hazard. That's what we're really trying to do. We're trying to avoid that. Now on a par 5, it's completely different, right? If I'm going for a par 5 and 2 and I hit in the hazard, so my second shot's in the hazard, 3 is dropped, 4 is on the green, I definitely have a chance to save par, worst case bogey. That is something I'm willing to manage more because the potential, if I can get it up on the green or near the green, I can make birdie. So understanding that is a big piece. Par 4 it's a little bit more painful, but still not as painful as a par 3. So again, on a par 4, if I hit it in the water on 1, let's say it's a lateral, I drop 2, I hit 3 on the green, I still have the potential to save par, could walk away with bogey. So understanding those components is really, really big, and understanding the type of hazard is really, really big because that changes my relief points. So just make sure that you understand the number one rule to become better golfers, especially for you newbies, for your casual golfers out there, people that are just starting, getting into the game, avoid hitting doubles. And the number one way to avoid hitting doubles is do not hit in the hazard on par 3s. It's common sense, I get it, but for some of you that are just beginning, that is a huge piece. Give you a really funny story. I had a player of mine when I was coaching D2 at Lenore Ryan College. We were playing down I think we were down in Turtle Bay in Kiowa Island, and I had a player in the practice round, hit it in the hazard, went to the drop area, got up and down, made bogey. Spectacular. We played 36 holes the first day. The first day, first round, she hit in the hazard, went to the drop zone, hit it up on the green, one putted, salvaged bogey. The second round, we came to the same hole. She looked at me and goes, "What do you think?" I go, "How far is it to the layup area?" And she just kind of looked at me like, "Are you crazy?" So we lasered the layup area. It was an 80-yard shot. So she hit an 80-yard shot up to the actual area where we were, the drop area, and then she got up and down for par. So, so she fought like heck to save bogeys. We were able to save a shot. just because she was hitting in the hazard. The last day she did the exact same thing, made par. It was really funny. But again, that is how important it is to be able to avoid penalties, especially inside of competition play. The more times we hit it into hazards, lost balls, things like that, our score is only going to grow and grow greatly, right? So avoiding hazards, avoiding those issues is huge. And, you know, tip of the cap to her, she could have told coach, you're full of crap, I'm going to hit this. Maybe she would have hit the green, maybe she'd have hit in the hazard again, and who knows what would have happened. But again, to her, she understood her strengths and her capabilities, hit it there and saved par. Cool story. How many of you out there would have the internal fortitude to be able to create that? I don't know if I could. Like as a coach, it's easier to spit that out, but as a player to kind of do that, tip of the cap. So again, I think this will be helpful in understanding hazards, understanding best ways to avoid hazards. And then again, watch the next video in our skills game. We're going to take a par 5 tee shot and understanding how we lay out our finger dispersions can really change the look of a hole and really give you the odds in your favor to stay away from big trouble. So thank you. Make sure you watch that. And if, like always, if there's any pieces in the side of the golf world that you want to learn more about, send me an email, hit me with a DM, and I'll be more than happy to try to work it into one of our podcasts. Thank you so much.
So we talked about water hazards. We defined them. We have bunkers. We have laterals. We have hazards. So now let's look at how we can apply this in a round of golf. I encourage you to go to golfcast.com and watch the video series on finger dispersions I did with Rob Fales. It's spectacular. Really goes into great depth on how you can probably shave 10 to 15% off your score immediately by using finger dispersions. So what we have to the left side is a mid-70s player with roughly a 9% lateral miss. What does that mean? 3 fingers. Each finger is roughly 3%. So 3 fingers dispersion will basically give you 9%, where a tour player would be 2%. I'm doing maximum left and right of target line because, again, if I am a cut player, my miss is going to be what? My path is left. My face actually squares the path. I hit a big pull. And vice versa, if I'm a draw player, my face is right. My path is right, my face is square to the path, and I hit a big block, right? So those would be typically big misses we see with those swing patterns. But I'm going to go ahead and say is I'm going to give you maximum dispersion. We're on the 18th hole. I'm trying to win a tournament. I'm trying to put the odds the best in my favor. Here we go, right? So as the higher handicap player, what you can see, if the tour player and the high handicap player aim roughly at the same spot, what we see is the mid-70s player, and again, not a bad golfer, a good golfer, their left miss actually is still in the hazard at 9%. That's right. So even aiming on the right side of the fairway, their biggest miss to the left could actually still end up in the hazard. And again, I'm trying to win a tournament. I want 1 or 2 shots. I don't want to give away freebies to the field. So what can we do? Well, the tour player over to the right, you can see when they average at 6%, even their biggest miss is barely on the rough left side and up by the cart path on the right side. So a really good kind of structure for them. So the tour player, there's much less issue about where they're worried about hitting it opposed to a mid-70s player. So what can we do for a mid-70s player to maximize that opportunity not to hit it in the hazard? Because again, when we hit it in the hazard, we know we're giving away shots. So all we've done is now we've taken that aim and aimed it just a hair more right, as you can see, compared to the tour player. And now that puts that miss for the golfer. The biggest miss left is on the rough, and the biggest miss right is just up above the cart path. Again, it's a par 5. We'd be laying up in 2, so it's not that big a deal, but it does keep me just short of the tree line. So for this athlete, this would be for a mid-70 shooter, their best point of aiming would be just on the rough line down the right side of the fairway. Again, maximizing my ability to miss. So just holding up fingers, once again, can really play a huge role and show you how your target lines might be affecting your score more than you know. Because again, shape of shot, understanding the variability of my shot, we can really rein that back and have you become a much better golfer. And of course, a much better golfer means much lower scores, which means much more fun and taking money from your friends. So give this a look. I might even go out and shoot a video tomorrow on hole 2 with some finger dispersions and show you in real life what this looks like. But again, this works for approach shots is on par 4s, par 5s, par 3s, off the tee. Again, the beauty of fingers is angle scale, so you can basically take lateral dispersions with you on the golf course. You don't need an expensive TrackMan. The good Lord has blessed you with fingers. hopefully, and therefore you can apply them on the golf course. So I hope this was helpful. And again, all we're looking to do inside of golf is control variability, understand where we will fall inside of that variability, my shot dispersion, and then go apply it to the golf course. Golf is simple. Scoring is simple. But posting a big score can be tough. Thanks. Time for closing thoughts and a toast. Well, Golfcast Nation, we're going to wrap this baby up. Episode 11, Navigating Water on the Course and in the Glass. I think it was really fun. Again, I thank the members out there that are pushing me to learn more about what water does by improving maybe this palate sensitivity a little bit, giving you a better balanced drink, reducing alcohol burn by proofing it down, as well as unlocking flavors that are inside the whiskey that you might not have noticed before. Again, I think it's a really cool what water can do. It's a personal preference. Again, some people swear by adding water. Some people think it's the worst thing on earth. What I've come to learn in my experience is it's a little of both. I've had water where it's made the whiskey so much better, and I've had water where I think it's made the whiskey turn out less enjoyable. So again, I think again, like anybody, it's go out there, trial, start small, add on top, and see what you like. Again, you have lots of ways with water. You got ice. You have, again, you can add water specifically. So there's lots of options on how to do that. But again, to me, I really love the artistry of that. And again, that same artistry kind of caters back into golf about how to avoid big numbers by avoiding hazards. Especially, I think on par threes, to me, is the biggest eye opener. Like the number one double, I think it's 50-60% of all doubles come from water hazard on a par three. I mean, it's just a massive number. So if you can figure out a way to avoid hitting in the hazard, you will save lots of shots. And you can go back to the story I told about a former player having to lay up to the drop zone because she got up and down every time from the drop zone. But yet every time we went for the green, she hit it in the pond. And that's just no bueno on scoring, right? So again, just understanding what you're capable of, understanding the golf course. And again, just understanding the different types of hazards. Bunkers are hazards. Lateral hazards are hazards that run parallel with the golf course, and then we have water hazards, or just a hazard that cuts across, and those are with yellow stakes, right? So just understanding that, understanding your different relief pieces is really big, especially if you hit a lateral hazard, depending on point of entry. Equidistance on the other side doesn't happen very often, but I've had it happen on 2 different occasions where it was hugely beneficial for the athlete to go on the other side of the pond to be able to hit a shot for various reasons. So again, really important to understand that. So again, the beauty of what we're trying to do with the blend pouring knowledge section is just give you knowledge on whiskey and golf, and again, weave it together slightly. Try to make it a little bit more enjoyable, a little bit more fun, and again, give you something more to talk about the next time you're in a tasting with your friends. So now what we need to do is go through our toast. So here is our toast for this week. I went ahead and got Russell's Reserve here, 110 single barrel. I actually added an ice cube. So in honor of watering it down, I did add an ice cube, and it has actually dissolved pretty well. I'm a big Russell's fan. I'm a Wild Turkey fan, so Russell's is right up my alleyway. Russell's 15 I had for the first time about a month and a half ago. Really, really good. I don't know if I'd spend that much money on it, but it's a really, really good bottle of whiskey. I've had Russell's 10, and I've had Russell's 12, and then I've had their single barrel. Again, anything that Wild Turkey produces, I'm a big fan. Now, they all have different flavor profiles and, again, different price points. But, again, I love Jimmy Russell's stuff. So, hey, cheers to you on that. So, here's our toast. Let's see. We got to navigate water into it. Okay. To water that tests our skills on the course and enhance our skills in the whiskey glass. May we find balance between risk and reward, navigating every challenge with confidence and savoring every drop with appreciation. Cheers to the journey, both in the game and in the glass. Salancha. We'll see you next week. Episode 12, I think, will be our first Throwdown series with Rob Fales at Birdwood Golf Course. So be on the lookout for that. And again, any questions, any topics you want added to the series coming up, let us know. And our question and answer podcast is in 2 weeks. So send us questions that you have from the newbie side to the enthusiast side on golf and whiskey, and we'll do our best to get those answered. Thank you again, and cheers.